mom started working out when she was 68 years old. I mean, this woman was so changed, and I didn't think you could, could start that late in life. That made a believer out of me. But it just goes to prove that it's never too late. You can always get in there and go for it.
Join Bally's now and get a 6-month membership for just $99. To be instantly connected to the club nearest you, call 1-800-WORKOUT.
Are you ready? Are you ready, ready, ready? Are you ready for the real food?
The filet you get in some places is a mix of fish, but Hardee's Fisherman's Filet is 100% North Atlantic cod and a lot of it.
Right now, I'll give you Hardee's Fisherman's Filet Sandwich with fries for just $1.99.
Are you ready for some real food? Hardee's.
Ride the WCCO MS-150. Call 870-1500. You're watching the news on Channel 4. It's 5 o'clock.
Good afternoon. I'm Cindy Hilger in today for Colleen Needles.
And I'm Don Shelby. In just 2 hours from now, Governor Carlson is expected to make some proposals that could affect each and every one of us.
Those proposals are for fixing the state's budget problems. As we've told you before, the state of Minnesota has a $569 million deficit. So how can the governor cut that? Well, here is what to expect tonight. Carlson says he will not ask for any tax hikes, and that means he will have to cut spending. The governor has already said he'll protect funding for elementary and secondary education, so that means he'll need to make deep cuts in many state programs. Political reporter Pat Kessler is covering the governor's speech tonight, and at 10 he'll tell us where those cuts may come from. And something else the governor is expected to talk about tonight is his plans to help Minnesota parents save money for their children's college education.
Well, there's no question the expenses sure do add up over time. As an example, sending your child to the University of Minnesota costs $2,400 a year in tuition alone now. But a child born today will go to the University of Minnesota in the year 2010, and by then, tuition will be up to $7,000. The governor's plan to help parents finance their kids' education is called Edvest, and it encourages them to invest tax refund money in savings bonds. Now, Alan Cox is standing by in the newsroom to tell us more about how this would work. Alan?
Don, do not mistake this for an offer by the state to pay for your child's tuition. With tight state and federal budgets these days, the word is that government can help those who first help themselves. The lesson is clear. For all the talk about the need to invest in America's future through education, government can't seem to afford more of it. But Governor Carlson believes it can afford to remind people to save. Under Edvest, the reminder could come on tax forms, right after people find out what refund they're due. They could put some of that money into bonds, good old U.S. savings bonds, or they could buy the bonds somewhere else. These days, savings bonds double in value in about 12 years. And maybe the state would come up with a bonus for low to middle income parents. Money from corporations donated to a charitable fund the state would set up to help pay for tuition. Maybe someday the state would chip in. But given the shortfall the legislature faces, it won't happen anytime soon. The state treasury won't chip in right away, if ever.
This program, by contrast, is fiscally quite conservative. It does not expose the state to liability. It has minimal administrative cost. As a result, though, people need to understand the necessity of saving more themselves in order for this to be successful.
Financial planner Bob Klosterman says most of the people he sees have saved little or nothing for their children's college. He says it's hard to judge whether Edvest is best for everyone without knowing how much bonus money the state can find. But he says it's a start.
It looks like a good incentive to get people thinking about education and doing something about it early on so that the state will have to come up with less money later on as education costs continue to rise and rise.
Other states have tried to help more. 4 years ago, Michigan set up a program to guarantee paid tuition to a state school like the University at Ann Arbor. Last year, parents of a newborn in Michigan could pay $8,000 and be guaranteed full tuition 18 years down the road, no matter how much college costs rise. But Michigan has stopped taking applicants for that program because the state is now afraid it can't afford it. Don, for most families, the costs of college ultimately come down to the family itself.
Alan, how would he go about getting this approved? Would it go through the state legislature?
The legislature would have to approve it in terms of setting up that fund and having some sort of an arrangement with your income tax forms. It wouldn't cost the state much, maybe less than $500,000 a year, and compared with some of the numbers we're going to be hearing about tonight, that's not much.
All right, Alan, thank you. The governor's plan to encourage people to invest in savings bonds, as Alan has said, really isn't all that new. 27 other states have already been doing something like that. But if the plan is approved by the state legislature, Minnesota would be the first state asking corporations to chip in some of the bonus money to help parents pay college tuition. Cindy?
A white student group at the University of Minnesota today was denied official status by university officials. Officials announced their decision at a rally organized by opponents of the proposed white student union.
The goals that have been espoused, the actions that have been demonstrated, in line with the formulation of a white student union, are clearly racist.
The group is headed by Tom David, a senior at the university, who says his organization currently has 8 members. Its key goal is to create white separatism. Davis says his group may file a lawsuit against the university if it continues to refuse to sanction the white student group.
Now, here's an update on a story we first told you about yesterday. Police have now arrested 2 people after a shooting at a St. Paul home. Now, you remember the story. Someone fired 6 shots directly into the home. The 2 suspects now are 17 and 19. They were arrested after people living in that house identified them as the teens who'd been feuding with one of their older sons. What alarmed police is that bullets just missed 2 younger children sleeping in the house. One shot actually hit a child's crib. Police have until noon tomorrow to charge those suspects. A 20-year-old Anoka man is dead after a car crash in Andover last night. Eric Ander was one of 4 people in the car when it went off the road at about 3 miles north of the Anoka County Courthouse on Hanson Boulevard. 2 others involved in the crash are in stable condition at Mercy Medical Center this afternoon. The 4th was treated and released. The cause of the accident is under investigation.
Were 4 Los Angeles police officers justified in beating and kicking motorist Rodney King? Well, that is a question jurors in California will be examining over the next month. In opening arguments today, both sides showed the home videotape of police beating King. The defense argues that the tape shows that King provoked the officers.
That Rodney King, without warning, with no one touching him, rose to his feet and turned within 2 seconds to the frame in a violent charge to Powell.
If convicted, the police officers face 4 to 8 years in prison.
Now, in some other national headlines, the presidential race narrowed by 1 candidate today. Nebraska Senator Bob Kerrey withdrew his name from the running, and while making that announcement, he compared his race for the presidency to the Winter Olympics.
After New Hampshire, I was delighted, or at least I appeared delighted, to say that I had won a bronze. Then went on to South Dakota and was happy to be able to say that I won a gold. But after Tuesday, I feel a little like the Jamaican bobsled team.
You might remember the Jamaican bobsled team did put in an appearance at the Olympics, but didn't do all that well. Kerry says his campaign had plenty of enthusiasm and plenty of potential, but not plenty of money.
Reports out of Houston say the rains there have now stopped, but flooding is still causing all kinds of problems. Up to 8 inches of rain yesterday flooded roads and left cars underwater. One of Houston's major highways is still closed today. The water stranded people in trees and in buses on the flooded roads, and firefighters couldn't reach a burning house because it was surrounded by water.
We can just pray for the best. It's not easy leaving your home. Oh, I was just so afraid I was going to die.
Crews in Houston say that mud is now the biggest problem on the roads, and many houses, though, are still underwater. It is a mess down there.
It is terrible down there. The drainage system just does not work. They're almost there below sea level at some times because of the Bay of Houston and Galveston Bay so close.
Not only that, but they had 8 inches of rain. There's just no place for that much water to go anyplace, even if we had it here, as we found out back in the superstorm back in '87. So anytime you get that much rain over a short period of time, you've got problems, and they had them down in Houston overnight last night and still part of the day today. Well, for our weather, we picked up 0.18 of an inch of rain. It finally started to rain here, and the fog lifted a little bit, but boy, it was foggy overnight last night. 45 the high, 39 the low. Cloudy rain, 43 tonight. Rain, drizzle, fog, and 42 for an overnight low. And with all the talk about the flooding, the high rivers and the Cannon, the Minnesota, and the Crow, we're going to talk about our flood potential when we come back.
All right, thank you very much, Mike.
Just ahead on the 5 o'clock news, a test to see whether you have a type A personality and what that could mean for your children.
Also ahead, more St. Paul children are getting hepatitis vaccines. In fact, one local hospital is giving it to all newborns. Next in the news for your health, we're going to tell you why they do that.
And then later in community news at about 5:24, you'll hear about some local people who want to provide a haven for travelers from all over the world.
This is the 5 o'clock news on Channel 4 with Don Shelby, Cindy Hilger, Mike Fairborn, and the rest of the WCCO News team.
Some people say it's impossible to make a great-tasting sandwich that's better for you. With new Healthy Choice cold cuts, they're about to eat their words and love it. Here's why. Tender chicken breast, oven-roasted turkey, cooked ham. Delicious? Definitely. But lower in fat and sodium than the leading brand, and that's got to be better for you. For a sandwich this good, remember these words. Healthy Choice cold cuts. With Healthy Choice, the choice is yours.
Thursday night, we swung into Chili's for their great fajitas. It was a toss-up between the beef and the chicken. Would it be the beef fajitas, a half-pound of charbroiled skirt steak, or the marinated chicken breast fajitas? Both are served with grilled onions and a choice of guacamole, sour cream, pico de gallo, and cheese. Of course, the fajita combo sounded good. So we just relaxed while our server cleared the table.
Of the 344 new cars and trucks being sold today, these are the top 10 sellers. And of these top 10 sellers, only one dealer can offer you 5 of them. Your local Ford dealer. From America's #1 selling small car, Ford Escort, to its design leader, Ford Taurus. From America's #1 selling compact pickup, Ranger, and sport utility, Explorer, to the world's #1 selling vehicle, Ford F-Series. With 5 of the top 10 sellers available at your local Ford dealer. Shouldn't you test drive one today?
My dad's most frugal patient was Mr. Poole.
No, not for me.
Everyone said his car could stop on a dime and then pick it up. But my dad really respected him.
Son, there's a man who knows about getting the most for his money.
Today at Pearl, you'll get the most for your money on every pair of glasses in the store. Save $100 on 2 pairs or $40 on 1 pair, even designer frames. Old man Poole would be laughing all the way to the bank.
Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Incredible furs, incredible savings. Dayton's warehouse fur clearance. 50% off already reduced prices. Saturday only, 701 Industrial Boulevard.
Well, in today's news for your health, within a few months, most babies born in the Twin Cities could be getting a new vaccination.
The shot gives protection against the virus that causes hepatitis B. Now, that liver infection affects 200,000 Americans every year, and it kills 5,000.
Last month, St. Paul Children's Hospital became the first facility to give all newborns a hepatitis vaccine. Now it appears other hospitals are ready to follow suit. Dr. Michael Breen is here with more.
I know all about hepatitis B because I've had it.
Oh.
When I was an intern, I was exposed to the blood of a patient who was infected. The virus went through a cut in my hand, it attacked my liver, and a few weeks later I became weak and jaundiced. Now, I got over my illness, but about 1 in 20 people become carriers. They appear better, but they can still infect other people. Ultimately, the virus in their bodies can cause fatal liver disease. Now, the threat of hepatitis is real. The question is that risk in Minnesota enough to justify the cost and effort of giving a shot? If your newborn's treated here at St. Paul Children's Hospital, he or she will get a shot of this, the vaccine for hepatitis B. It prevents mothers who are carriers from infecting their babies. It also protects these babies from being infected later in life. But if your newborn's treated here at Minneapolis Children's Medical Center, they probably won't get a shot. The theory here is that the best use of the vaccine is to mostly use it later in life, and only on those people most at risk for hepatitis B. Who are those people? They're healthcare workers, prisoners, heterosexuals with multiple partners, homosexuals, and members of households that include Southeast Asians. Many people from that region carry the virus. We should add that the American Academy of Pediatricians, the country's largest pediatric group, says all newborns should get this shot. And that's the trend apparently now in Minnesota. Cindy Don, Minneapolis Children's Medical Center says within 2 months it will probably also give the shot to all newborns, and that hospital expects all other hospitals in the Twin Cities to follow suit.
Are all newborns equally at risk or more than others?
Well, that's the center of the controversy. Obviously, a child of Southeast Asian background is more at risk, and the infection is far less common in rural areas. So the argument is that if every child in Minnesota were to get this vaccination, those in rural areas, you might really be wasting the shot. There's a limited amount of vaccine out there. You're better off spending the money on high-risk adolescents who are about to become health care workers or have a certain affectional preference.
So how expensive is it?
About $100 for a series of 3 shots.
Okay.
Stick around for a moment because we've got a story coming up here we're going to need your advice on. It is a story having to do with medicine and type A personalities.
New research says type A moms are more likely to have children with those same personality traits.
So the question is, like we need to ask, what is a type A person anyway? Now, we've got a few quick questions for you to answer.
Okay, think about this. If you have to wait in line at a restaurant, a store, or a post office, what do? A, accept it calmly. B, feel impatient but don't show it. C, feel impatient, let others know it. Or D, you refuse to wait. We'll move on now to the next question. How was your temper when you were younger? A, fiery, hard to control. B, strong but controllable. C, no problem. Or D, I almost never got angry. Got your answer on that one? We're going to move on to our next question. Do you ever have trouble finding time to get your hair cut or styled? A, never. B, seldom. C, occasionally. Or D, almost always. Now, depending upon how you answer these questions, well, that could show whether you are a type A person. Okay?
Now, these are not as easy to understand as some people might think. They're not obvious answers, because depending on how you answered that, we're going to figure out a lot more about our own personalities. If you answered D to any or all of those questions, you could be a type A personality. I would have thought that it was the person who was always angry and the person who was always uptight.
Well, there are 2 components to a type A personality. There's the one most people are familiar with, a sense of time urgency. You have 20 minutes to get to work. It's a 10-minute drive. You get to a red light. You have plenty of time, but you feel impatient. You start tapping the accelerator. You create a deadline for yourself even though you don't have to. People with that sense of time urgency, we all have it in journalism. We love deadlines every day. We love the adrenaline. Yeah, and for us it's positive. The key here is that is not by itself dangerous, but there's a second component to having a type A personality, what we call free-floating hostility. You often feel angry, smoldering anger, and you don't know why. Now, that is the critical and the bad aspect of type A personalities when it comes to heart disease. The time urgency by itself is not that dangerous, but this free-floating hostility, this undefined but often angry feeling, triples your odds of having a heart attack.
Okay. My goodness.
Thanks.
Yep.
We have a couple more interesting facts about type A people.
Well, about 50% of American men are type A. The others are type B, more relaxed and less competitive, sort of like me. The number of women who are type A is going up as more women enter the workforce, and this may seem a little surprising, but CEOs of corporations are more likely to be type B personalities because they tend to be less offensive and they work their way up the corporate ladder.
It will begin quickly and be gone even faster. For the first time in the Twin Cities from 4 distinct locations, a product recognized all over the world for quality will be offered at significant savings. Over 500 new Hondas, over 1,000 used cars, everyone clearly marked with the price, payment, or savings information. Through 6 p.m. Saturday here, 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 and here. Although a Honda may run forever, these offers do not. Honda, reliable cars from reliable people.
Why the raft?
Flakes get soggy in milk.
Gee, I don't.
You Quaker Oat squares are whole grain oats. Sprinkle of brown sugar.
And we stay crunchy in
Milk.
Quaker Oat squares. You'll love them from square one.
Coat yourself for spring with rainwear, coats, and jackets. 25 to 40% savings every day. Coat yourself at the Coat Company.
It's time to save, really save, during Slumberland's huge 19-hour sale. Friday from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday from 10 to 6. You'll find our entire $7 million inventory at savings of 20 to 60%. Set your clock for fantastic deals on every mattress, every brand. Save on every furniture item, from recliners to sofas. Hundreds of the very best brand names. Don't miss the savings. Don't miss the selection. The store-wide 19-hour sale this Friday and Saturday only at Slumberland Furniture.
In 1985, Glenarden, Maryland had one of the highest crime rates in the nation. Most crimes occurred after 10 p.m. by kids under the age of 21. That's when Van Standifer decided to fight back. He started a midnight basketball league. It reduced crime by 60%, gave kids something better to do with their time and new meaning to Van Standifers. To learn what you can do in your community, call the Points of Light Foundation. Do something good. Feel something real.
It is expected that the Target Center will have its largest crowd ever tonight, but you might expect, with Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls making their only visit this year, that would happen. Jordan clowned around with the Wolves' Tony Campbell this morning at practice, who, by the way, he thinks is one of the best ball players in the league, has that same carefree attitude about playing, despite the media pressure on him and his team to win back-to-back titles.
Once I'm on the basketball court, I can care less about you guys and everybody else, basically. I mean, I'm out there to enjoy myself, play the game of basketball, and, you know, that's not in a derogatory way. I mean, that's my escape from a lot of things. I enjoy the game so much that once I'm out there playing, I'm wrapped up into it, and I'm enjoying myself.
Standing room tickets on sale right now at the Target Center, where more than 19,200 fans will see the Wolves try to beat the Bulls for the first time ever.
You wouldn't be going to that game, would you?
I think I'm going to be there. I think I'm going to watch that game.
Like, is it raining outside?
We'll probably hear about that a little later.
Yeah, a lot. I like Mikey says.
Listen, with the time of year that we have and with the kind of weather we're experiencing, a little bit concerned about the possibility for flooding for us. The things we watch for is a heavy snow cover, which we don't have anymore right now. Warm temperatures, rain, saturated soils, and frost. Our soil is saturated out there across almost all of the state. In fact, if we get heavy rains in some areas, we could get some flooding, so we're going to certainly keep an eye on that. Frost, we're mostly frost-free all across the state. The interesting thing about that is that out in the western part of the state, the frost depth is 1 to 2 feet. We normally have it 3 to 4 feet. And here over the eastern part of the state, where we got the early snow cover, we don't have any frost at all. How are we doing for snow depth? Well, here's what it looks like. Believe it or not, still over 20 inches of snow on the ground up in the Arrowhead area. We checked the latest weather maps, though, and there's rain all the way from Duluth up into the International Falls area, so the quality of that snow is probably not very good if you're thinking about cross-country skiing or snowmobiling for the weekend, because it is going to turn awfully, awfully crusty. But you can see that we don't have the snow here over the southern part of the state that we would normally have this time of year, and less than 2 inches around the Twin Cities. We do have the rains, though, a big spiral of clouds all the way from the Gulf Coast, and these are the showers and thunderstorms that were over Houston yesterday that brought in the heavy rains for them. But arcing up all the way into the southern part of the state, if you take a look at the radar, you can see that we have rain scattered all over us, extending all the way down to the south. And again, severe thunderstorm watches in effect for parts of Louisiana and eastern Texas. Now, our live radar picture right now does show we have a lot of precipitation around us. This precipitation is starting to let up in the southeastern corner of the state. We have a little area of heavier rains right out here between Hutchinson and the Twin Cities. So there's going to be some areas of some heavier rains, at least off and on through the night tonight. In the meantime, our weather map, as we put it into motion, you can see the low pressure area moving to the east. The rain's finally moving off, but we're still going to keep the clouds. We're going to keep the fog. We're going to keep some drizzle in, at least for the next few days, and maybe something else. Tell you about that in a second. Our forecast, right now we're cloudy with rain, 43 degrees. 0.18 of an inch of rain has fallen. By tomorrow, we'll have, or tonight, rain, fog, drizzle, 42 for a low tomorrow. Cloudy, fog, showers, 45. A possibility of snow late Sunday into Monday. We could see another maybe 2 or 3 inches. That's not unusual for March, okay? March, we usually get some snow, but it's going to seem unusual after the warm weather and the rain.
And we need, excuse me, I was just going to say we need, on a serious sense, some snow cover for soil content so the farmers can get a good start on the season.
The soil is saturated, so I don't know that we really need much more snow. We just need to kind of
Don't dry out by planting
slowly.
time?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That may be a problem, as a matter of fact.
Thanks, Mike. Well, Community News is coming up next at 5.
And today we're going to tell you about a first in Minnesota. Something is happening at a local mansion, and it will bring people here from all across the world. The details next.
1992 Mercury Grand Marquis, one of our best sellers for a lot of reasons. V8 power, full-size comfort, available dual airbag protection, and ABS brakes, making the quietest Grand Marquis even better.
All this in the quality of a Mercury.
You'll find style, selection, and savings for your home at Menards. Beaulieu classic style area rugs uniquely complement many decors. Plus, they're durable and easy to care for, starting at just $44.94. And give your walls a freshly painted look that lasts with Lucite Maximum Paints. They're covered by a 12-year warranty. Latex flat is just $8.99 a gallon. Decorate your home and save at Menards.
Save big money at Menards.
Let's say this is one of those typically beautiful tourism commercials. And seeing it, you wanted to do this. Could you find this place? Probably not. But when you travel in Minnesota this summer, we'll help you find exactly the getaway you want. So if you want to be here, do some of this, or maybe see this, you'll only find it here.
Need some ideas for your vacation? Get the Minnesota Explorer. It's free, and it's full of things to see and do all over the state. It'll also help you contact our travel counselors and other people who will help you find the getaway you want. Whatever it is, call 1-800-245-5600 for the free Minnesota Explorer.
Time now to see what's going on in some of the communities around the metro area. Cindy has moved to the Community News Center to fill us in. Cindy.
Thanks, Don. First off this afternoon, news that St. Louis Park will soon be a true global community. An international youth hostel will open there later this year, the first of its kind in Minnesota. The St. Louis Park Sun-Sailor reports that people from all over the world will have a place to stay that should suit them perfectly. Brad Good reports.
When administrators from Hostelling International of Minnesota went looking for a place to set up a youth hostel, this mansion on Monterey Avenue had everything they were looking for. It's a foreclosed religious residence that was on the market for $325,000. Throw in another $200,000 for renovation, and you've got a future cultural melting pot at a bargain basement price.
This particular location is ideal because the property involves 2.75 acres, so we've got a wonderful buffer of a ravine in the back at Monterey Park, and the fact that we have apartments on 3 sides as opposed to single-family residences is a really good situation for us.
There's lots of room for travelers to get to know each other. Downstairs, there's a kitchen where residents can prepare their own meals, and there's plenty of dining room to eat the meals.
Being located in St. Louis Park and this close to the lakes and to a lot of the cultural activities and certainly sites and tourist attractions that surround the Twin Cities is pretty exciting for us.
Because the hostel itself serves as a window on the world for both the people in the community to see and meet people from around the world, and conversely, people from other countries have a chance to see our Midwestern way of life that they just don't get to see on our east or west coasts.
And Hosteling International reminds us that hostels are not just for young people traveling around the world. All ages are welcome. And they could use some volunteer help and funding to finish the St. Louis Park projects. If you'd like to help out, you can call this number at 659-0408. The number again, if you'd like to help out with this project, 659-0408. Well, if you live in the northern suburbs, the commute into downtown Minneapolis by bus may take less time. A bus-only lane has been added for commuters coming from Coon Rapids, Maple Grove, and other northern communities. The lane has been added to the 4th Street exit from eastbound I-94. This is the first of several projects designed to make the commute easier. This summer, 4 other bus and carpool lanes will open for folks all around the Twin Cities. And finally, a story about music and young children. What better combination? The music comes from Wayzata, a group called the Wayzata Strings. They're 3rd through 6th graders who decided to pay a visit to some of the sick children at Minneapolis Children's Hospital. Here is some of today's concert. You can tell by the looks of these kids, this was a nice break from a rainy day spent in the hospital. We'll be right back.
What do you think of Carson's 12-hour sale?
It's like a beacon in a storm.
12 hours of incredible store-wide savings. Only 12 hours.
And it's over like that.
Carson's 12-hour sale starts 9 a.m. Saturday.
Exactly. Some people say it's impossible to make a great tasting sandwich that's better for you. With new Healthy Choice cold cuts, they're about to eat their words and love it. Here's why. Tender chicken breast, oven-roasted turkey, cooked ham. Delicious? Definitely. But lower in fat and sodium than the leading brand, and that's got to be better for you. For a sandwich this good, remember these words. Healthy Choice cold cuts. With Healthy Choice, the choice is yours.
What do you think of Carson's 12-hour sale?
A light at the end of the tunnel, yes.
12 hours of incredible store-wide savings. Only 12 hours, then poof! Come on! Carson's 12-hour sale starts 9 a.m. Saturday.
Gone. Ride for fun, ride for exercise, and ride to Duluth. It's the WCCO MS 150. Join us on June 13th and 14th for the WCCO MS 150 bike tour from the Twin Cities to Duluth. It's not too early to start getting yourself and your bike in shape for the best and biggest bike tour in Minnesota. This year's ride promises to be one of the best. To register, stop by any Now Sports or call 870-1500 for your pledge packet. Then ride the WCCO MS 150 bike tour.
Chalk up another one for April McManus. She's the Hill Murray High School senior we told you about yesterday, competing in Jeopardy's teen tournament. Today, April competed in one of the final.